to Both Sides Now, featuring the unconventional duo, Dr. Shirley and medium Kelly White. Two perspectives, one world. This is Both Sides Now.
Yay! Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Both Sides Now. I'm Dr. Shirley,
And I'm spiritual medium, Kelly White.
and there's our beautiful John in the little window
Hey,
on
ladies.
top of the
Hi, John.
table. We're having him for dinner.
Happy to see you. There I am. There I am. Yeah, right. I'm joining you from the table. Yeah.
That is so funny. So, today we're going to talk about anger, but before that, Kelly, of course, you need to let us know what we're in for in the next couple of days and weeks with this energy that's been going crazy.
Well, it's intense energy, as I've been talking about it for some time. This is really some really
Yes, it
intense energy.
It most definitely is, yeah.
And it's interesting because our topic is anger, and that's not a mistake. I mean, we chose that deliberately because this energy is very intense. So even if I start with just today, okay, just today, the sun opposes Jupiter today. And that's kind of unusual, and it brings confrontations. So watch it out there. On June 14th, Mars trines Neptune and Mars opposes Saturn. So that's frustration and dealing with anger and rage. June
Mm,
16th, Jupiter squares Neptune, and it's 3 times this year. It's the second of the 3, and it tests our faith. Then we have
faith in
July,
what?
just our faith. Our faith.
Our
It
belief,
will be
just
our beliefs.
in general.
Absolutely. In general, it'll test us. It'll test who are you? What are you made out of? It'll test. This whole
Oh,
period
okay.
is about testing. And then July 2nd, of course, is the eclipse. And then
Yeah.
additionally, we have currently 3 planets retrograde, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto. And then we have Neptune and Uranus going retrograde very, very, very soon. So that'll be 5 planets retrograde. So all of this
Wow.
this period is very explosive. It's dynamic. It brings change. It brings frustration. You may have high anxiety right now, high anxiety, which often high anxiety can lead to making bad choices, doing weird things,
Yeah.
and it can lead to frustration, and ultimately can lead to anger.
Yeah.
It can be. I mean, yesterday, one of the freeways was shut down near my house because some people had gotten out in the middle of the freeway with kids in the car, had gotten out of the car and duked it out. And I mean, there were 2
You're-
couples physically fighting. I'm watching this on the news. Like, I can't believe what I'm watching. There are
You're
children here.
kidding.
I hope they all get freaking arrested. It was unbelievable. It was caught on a camera, and it was shocking to see. But that's the kind of explosive anger that I'm talking about.
Wow. So it was a couple in the same car that
2
got
different
out?
cars. 2 different cars.
Wow.
Who knows? Somebody cut somebody off. I have no idea. They got out swinging. I mean, like fists are swinging, and these kids are in the car.
Oh no.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
That's the
See,
kind of crazy ass time it is.
and that's so funny that, yeah, well, I've been feeling it. That's so funny because, well, when we get into anger, we'll talk about what kind of imprint that puts on a child about anger, about the
Oh,
emotion of anger. Yeah.
oh. I was
Yeah.
thinking of that as these kids would be traumatized for life. Can you imagine the
Well, they're
story
going to
that goes with that?
associate, yeah, they're going to associate the feeling of anger with the
Mhm.
behavior of anger. And those are 2 very different things that we
Mm.
many times are coupled or associated together. That's why we're so afraid of anger. But
Mm.
so before we get into that, which is our topic for today, so okay, so what to expect? To expect people to just
People may be very insane right now, out of control, raging, angry, and yet we still have to go on. So I would say slow it down, slow yourself down,
well, the
pay
best,
attention.
yeah, and I think the best as much as it's possible to not engage.
If you can. If you
Yeah.
can, I would agree. If you can, again, that goes to slowing yourself down and really having maybe some thoughts of, wow, isn't this an incredible time to be alive? Pull yourself back out of your own story to say, wow, isn't this something? And look
Mm.
around. Isn't this amazing? This time we're
Mhm.
in. It is
Yeah.
it is amazing time to be in alive, and we
Yeah.
all chose to be here. I always have to remind people of that one.
Yes, we did, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I think it's, I mean, there can be so many very deep lessons to learn
Oh, this
too.
period we'll be learning deep lessons. Yeah,
Yeah.
patience.
Yeah.
Patience is a big one. You know,
Mhm.
often we come to this dimension to learn how to deal with deep emotions, and anger is one that we
Yeah.
would come to learn to deal with.
Mhm.
And I'll talk about it from a spiritual perspective. And why don't you go ahead and start with some of
Yeah.
the what you know about
Well,
anger?
what really baffles me, and I guess I felt the same way until I learned, the from an SE perspective. There's a researcher who's passed on now. His name is Jaak Panskap, and he studied emotions in rats and actually realized that rats laugh. They actually laugh. Yeah. When he tickles them, how he was studying all emotions.
Wow.
And that was one of the things that he was very kind of well known for. But he said he described emotions as just being a dysregulation of the nervous system. So we all have a homeostasis that we're in, you know?
Mhm.
And so some people who are higher in anxiety feel their homeostasis is here. Some people who are depressed all the time, their homeostasis is here, but we all have one. And so whenever we feel an emotion, it's a dysregulation of that. And so if we
Oh.
look at any kind of emotion, particularly anger, as just a dysregulation of the nervous system, then you can also kind of depersonalize it a little bit and be curious and, oh, what am I feeling now? Or where did that come from? Or what just triggered me? Thich Nhat Hanh, who I absolutely adore, used to say, the energy of anger is running through me right now, as an example. So it helps kind of remove yourself from it. I'm not an angry person. I'm just feeling the energy of anger running through me right now, or the energy of sadness, whatever emotion. But anger has gotten a bad rap. And I always tell people it's not a four-letter word. It's an incredibly useful emotion that's actually about life force. If
It
you
is
come
life
at me,
force.
yeah,
Yeah.
if you come at me,
Mhm.
the only thing that's going to get me to protect myself is anger to push you back. So when we suppress our anger, we're suppressing our life force. And what I mentioned before a little while ago, what gets us into trouble is that we associate the emotion of anger with the behavior of anger. So when we have experiences as kids where parents lose it all the time, then we become afraid of anger. But it's not really anger that we're afraid of, it's how we were taught that anger gets expressed. So for example, when someone does something to me that makes me feel angry, I've learned now, I'll notice my stomach, and many times when I was working through it, it felt like the image in my mind was a volcano erupting. And so I would imagine that, and I would let it completely erupt, and then I would notice myself start to calm down. So it's so important to validate, wow, I'm feeling really angry right now, as just to validate. How we choose to react to it is a completely different too. That's like step two. The validation in and of itself helps dissipate the anger. The neuroscientists have a saying called name it to tame it. When we name our emotions, they actually lose their intensity just a little bit, even, which then allows us to be able to feel more in control of them instead of, the emotion controlling us. And anger many times happens like that, where I feel controlled by my anger. I don't feel in control of my anger.
So something to say about that would be, man, I am angry. Like
Mm-hmm.
really noticing how angry you are. So that would be step one. I
Yeah.
am
Or
angry.
even saying, wow, I'm feeling a lot of rage right now. Sometimes anger,
Yeah.
goes, the word we have for extreme anger is rage, right? For the other, for less than anger is frustration, annoyance, but all that's under the umbrella of anger. So like if you were to say something that made me angry, I can say, wow, Kelly, when you said that, I really felt a lot of anger.
Mhm.
I'm responding to my anger, I'm validating, and I'm talking to you about it. Anger doesn't have to look like, you fucking asshole. Anger
Right.
doesn't have to look like that. It doesn't.
Well, often we see it as road rage. We'll see a lot of it, that image of road rage.
Yeah, and that is because when someone cut you off,
Mhm.
something got triggered. I used to feel rage, and it's in my book, when I used to go to a restaurant and I used to specifically say how I wanted something prepared, particularly my eggs. I cannot stand them runny or gross, or my steak has to be completely well done. And they used to come back, and it's notorious. Steaks, nobody believes that I like it so well done. Comes back, and it wasn't like that. And I used to get angry. Then I would send it back, and maybe would come back a second time not prepared, and I literally would feel rage.
I've
And
been with you.
right.
I've
And
seen you do it.
right. And I always thought, okay, that is such an exaggerated response to what's going on. And then when I tapped into it, I was actually reading one time it happened at breakfast, and I was reading an article about somatic experiencing with Peter Levine, and my core wound was not being heard. So what was being triggered is that the waitress wasn't hearing me. So road rage is the same thing. When someone cuts you off, maybe that's a core wound that you were never allowed to speak. And so that cutoff is going to trigger that, which is going to make you so angry. So it's not about saying I shouldn't feel that way or I'm feeling too much. It's to be curious, why am I feeling this amount of anger about this experience? To be annoyed when a waitress doesn't bring me or a waiter doesn't bring me, but to be rageful, I mean.
I've seen you be rageful over it. You know, the only thing that gets me rageful is dealing with personality disorders. That really triggers me. Does that trigger you?
And we understand why.
Yeah.
Not as much as it triggers you, but I don't have it in my background.
Yeah, I have it in my family. It's just way too much. Personality disorders. I literally blow up over that.
Yeah.
I can't stand to be around them.
So that's exactly it. When we blow up over something, it's important to not be critical, to just be curious. Why am I blowing up? Because the emotion is real. I'm feeling it.
Right.
But in order to work through it and to heal the wound that caused such a big emotion, we need to acknowledge it. We need to be curious as to what it triggered, because it will always have triggered something. Let's see. Barb says, I've walked away from an angry person without engaging back, but made him angrier that I didn't get angry back. Yeah, many times
that's a
people
personality
have so much
disorder.
Yeah, many times people have so much anger in them that they have to kind of almost get it out. And engaging with you, it feels like they're getting the anger out, but they're not really doing anything because it's not the original wound.
Well, and that's typically borderline, where they have to rage back, and you have to. They want you to rage and engage and all of that. If you can walk away, God bless you.
Yeah. Yeah, Nina says, just walk away if possible. Sometimes confronting makes the anger worse. Absolutely. And I was going to say, there's a funny thing about the nervous system where the nervous system wants to mimic each other. So if someone's raging and you keep it here, they can't keep going up higher, even if they do a little bit. But if you keep it here, eventually their nervous system will come down to meet yours. Wow. That's why with borderlines, you have to diffuse, neutral responses. I see. Okay. Not in a way to sarcastic or in a way to piss them off more, but if you keep it neutral and not engage, because when someone is angry, literally the thinking part of your brain is offline and you're literally not thinking, you're just emoting. Same with high anxiety. You can't think. So like when couples have an argument and it gets to that level, there's no communicating at that point. You're just spewing stuff. And that's where the expression, I didn't mean what I said, comes from. Because we're so angry, the thinking brain isn't online. It literally, like a computer, it goes offline. Wow. So it's important to, with couples, I say use a neutral word that doesn't trigger, like some people use coconut, which means I'm so angry, I can't talk right now, or I'm getting that you're feeling really angry. So let's separate for 30 minutes. It takes about 30 minutes for the brain to come back online. Wow. And then we can come back. The agreement is we come back and we discuss it. But we stop talking in this moment, because otherwise we're going to say hurtful things. And that whole thing of, what is it? Sticks and stones can break my bones, but words never hurt. That's such bullshit. Words hurt. They hurt deep.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, interesting. From a spiritual standpoint, you'll find this fascinating. There's a great book called Spiritual Bypassing. Okay. It's by Robert Augustus Masters. God, it's a great name. And this is what he says about anger and spirituality. When we feel anger, it's an indication that something is wrong, a boundary has been crossed, or a need is not met.
Absolutely.
I mean, absolutely. And then he goes on to say that, that anger, you can turn anger into compassion. And because anger is a spiritual emotion also. It can actually be, people get confused with anger and aggression, as you were saying earlier on. But emotion, or the anger, is actually something that pushes energy out and can get things done.
Absolutely. Sometimes, it's funny because aggression is a behavior.
Mhm.
And that's the behavior of anger, but anger is the emotion of anger. And many times what I found that people with high anxiety or
Mhm.
deep depression, it's because they're suppressing anger. Now
Oh, yeah.
sometimes when your go-to is anger, just like the we had up on our Instagram, where it's an iceberg.
Mhm.
Underneath it, if anger is your go-to, that's it. Thank you, John. Then underneath anger could be shame or overwhelm or
Mhm.
sadness or hurt.
Or grief. Yeah.
Right, many things. If your go-to is anger, if your
Mhm.
go-to is sadness, sometimes underneath that is anger that you don't feel safe enough feeling, and so you go into crying or into sadness. But it's such an important emotion to feel. It really, really isn't, to acknowledge and validate. It is truly a life force.
And from a spiritual standpoint, you can have compassion and anger. I mean, they
Absolutely.
coexist.
Yeah.
And there's some of the spiritualists that it's so funny when you'll hear them say, oh, I don't get angry. Oh, please, come on.
Right.
I mean,
Well, they say,
come on.
I'm evolved. I don't feel anger. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, that's the exact opposite of evolved, because if you were, you'd be able to acknowledge and validate anger and not necessarily feel the need to react to it. I
Yeah.
sometimes will notice, if either I go to a yoga class where it's like with yogis and stuff, not just,
Mhm.
and they're floating up there. And it makes me, I feel anxiety when I feel someone floating up there, because I know that they're not grounded and they haven't done the work and they can lose it in a second.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So does that bring you rage, Cheryl?
No, it brings me fear. Actually, I don't want to be around them.
Really?
Mhm.
Really fascinating.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Vicky says, and then still it can be hard to communicate the feeling you're suppressing.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
very true. Yeah, that's why there needs to, somatically, if you have a sensation in your body, that can clue you into what you might be feeling, and then that can clue you into that can get you to be curious as to why you're feeling that. Emotions in general are a way that the body communicates with the mind.
Oh, absolutely.
It
And
gives us
spiritually,
information.
absolutely, Shirley. Spiritually, if you slow down, I mean, really get to still, and that's why meditation is so important. But if you can just be still and ask yourself, have a dialogue with what's going on, so you can
Mhm.
ask yourself questions. Has there been a boundary that's been crossed? Why am I feeling this? Whatever it
Yeah.
happens to be. But don't avoid your feelings. Don't avoid them.
No, particularly anger. It's not a bad
Mhm.
feeling to have. It gives you so much information. Just like you said, a boundary crossed or a need not met.
Mhm.
That would make someone angry. And if you find yourself feeling a lot of anger or road rage, that's an indication that there are wounds that have not been healed as a kid. When our needs aren't met as a kid, the kid goes into rage and then suppresses the rage because it's not safe to feel angry. I mean, what kid can go up to the mom and say, "I'm mad at you," and the mom going, "Oh, why?" And work through it like that. I mean, it's not, hopefully it's become a lot more commonplace, but so the rage gets stuffed, the anger gets stuffed, the rage gets stuffed, and then all of a sudden you're a very,
Boom.
angry adult,
Mhm.
and you don't really know why.
Yeah.
And then it's like, or you're very much into control, and that's all about unhealed wounds from the past.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because the time period we're in right now is about change and deep feelings and deep emotions, and anger is one of them. So let's use this time wisely. Let's use it for what it's here for, to make change, but change in yourself. And spiritually, this is a time of great growth. And we come to learn all kinds of things, and one of them can be learning how to feel, how to talk about what you're feeling, and then letting it go if you can.
Yeah.
Especially with anger, if you can. And if you can't, you go back to the drawing room and ask her, get still again.
Right. And letting it go, it's easier to let go when you acknowledge it and validate it. And
And
by
I will
let
say,
go means it dissipates. Yeah.
this, Shirley, you have been easier to go out to dinner with.
Thank you very much. I
You've
appreciate that.
definitely been working on it. Definitely.
It's ridiculous. I mean, not to put myself down, but it didn't make any sense even to me, but I felt that it was a very real emotion.
Oh,
And
I felt it with you as well. I was like, oh no, here we go. I was a
please,
chef.
please get it right. Please get it right.
Oh no, I wanted to go back and cook it myself, It's like, "Yeah, let me just tell you what she wants and I'll do it for you," because I didn't want any problems.
I had a restaurant, Houston's, that says the chef refuses to prepare it that way.
I
And I
actually
said,
remember that.
but I refuse to be here, to eat here.
Yeah.
And we left. My husband, this is Judith, my husband never got outwardly angry. He repressed it because his dad had rages. He died of cancer at age 68. Yeah, Gabor Mate implicates the pleasing personality is involved with developing cancer. It can be.
Boy,
Yeah,
Judith, that's very accurate. I
very
mean,
much so.
it would have never been safe for your dad to be, or to your husband to be angry if if his father was. It makes it really tough.
My mother died of esophageal cancer, and she was highly
Afraid to
angry.
speak her truth.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
And Karen says we can suppress such a long time because we've been taught be nice. We no longer even know what we're feeling. You're right, Karen. That's
Mhm.
very true. Very, very true.
And that's why it's more important than ever to sit in a space. Again, this month is a great time to do it before the eclipse or during the eclipse, but really sit and ask yourself, what are you feeling? What needs to come out? What are you
Yeah,
feeling right now?
yeah, yeah. And it's interesting because people who never feel anger, I'm actually more afraid of them than the ones who are angry. Because people who never feel anger, that stuff is going to happen that made you angry. And
Yeah.
those people tend to sometimes be passive aggressive because you feel anger. You can't get away from, from it happening, right? You do something to me that
Mhm.
crosses my boundary, doesn't need to meet.
Right.
That's in a natural, what my nervous system does. If I've suppressed it so much that I don't even feel it, maybe next time I go to your house, I show a plate or I bring you candy that I know you hate or, and I'm not doing it purposely or consciously, but that's what passive aggressive is all about.
It's so funny. I had somebody that would come over and she would bring me this horribly smelly candle. And I actually couldn't breathe, And I would think, "Oh God, why is she doing this every time?" But I never told her. It's my own fault. I should have just said, "Look,
Well,
I
that's
can't
different.
take this." But
Yeah.
my husband would take the candle and he would like run out. I mean, literally get it as far out into the trash as possible. And then he would get so angry about it. It was hilarious.
That's so funny. Yeah, no, if you're not telling the
No,
person, then that's
it was
on
my
you, and
fault.
it's
I
not a
should have.
passive aggressive thing. But like if you told her and she
Yeah.
brought it to you anyways and said, "Oh my God, I totally forgot," that could be passive aggressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Angela, some of my positive life changes were born out of anger and frustration. Right on, sister.
Yeah.
Breakups, job changes, and moves. Oh my God, I have somebody I know very well who had a horrible boss. This boss was so horrible. And I said to her, why don't you go back to grad school and just do really well and get the hell out of Dodge? Well, she did. She ended up with an MBA in business, international business. Yeah,
Wow.
stayed at the position, ended up getting hired, so promoted, so high up, and the other one was eventually fired. It's interesting. Oh
Wow.
yeah, no, anger is a great motivator.
Yeah. Yeah. Most definitely.
Hmm.
Most definitely. Karen says, empaths ask, "Are these my feelings or another's?" Yeah.
That's the truth. As an empath, it makes it very tough, Karen. As you know, you're an empath. It's really rough out there is it my energy? Is it yours? Is it who am I
Yeah.
picking up?
Yeah.
And if I sit still enough, I can say, oh no, I know who I'm upset with. I know why I'm upset. I know what's going on. It's taken me years to get there, but I
Hmm.
can do it.
Yeah.
I can do it. And I can separate my energy from somebody else's.
Yeah, and it's funny because even in somatic experiencing, that's what we do. We're resonating. We call it resonating. So
Mm.
if I'm all of a sudden having an emotion, I'll ask, "Are you feeling this? Am I resonating with you, or am I, is
Oh,
this my own feeling?"
right.
So
Well,
it's
Shirley, when I work with young mediums or people that are just starting off as a medium,
mm,
they will always ask me the same question: am I picking up their stuff? Is it my stuff? And that's why, as a medium, it's really important that you do your own psychological therapy, everything. Learn all about yourself before you go working with others, because it's really important. Because you
yeah,
might be picking up their stuff. I know when I see somebody, it's not my stuff. I know the difference now. But I've done a
yeah,
lot of work on myself at this point.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We both have. Do we have any calls, John?
We sure do. Are you ready for some?
Where is? There
John,
you
are you
are.
there?
Yeah. So you guys ready? Here we
Yep, we're
go.
Yeah,
ready.
yeah, yeah. Sure. Let's take some calls.
All right. Our first caller is B from 862. Hi, B.
Hi, how
Hi,
are you?
B.
Hi, B. How's my beautiful girl, B?
Oh, I'm doing very, very well. Very excellent, excellent show.
Thank
Enjoying very
you.
much. posted it on my Goddess Central page. I hope people are listening because this is such an important issue. And you know, I did a reading. I'm also a seer like Kelly, and
She's terrific.
And I did a reading for a woman the other day who has a lot of anger, and my guide literally said to me, "B, tell her to stop being angry about getting angry."
Oh, yes.
All the time. In other words, it's like you keep getting angry at yourself because you get angry, and that doesn't break the cycle.
Yeah.
That just adds to it.
Being angry, you know, because you keep beating yourself up.
Yeah.
So that just, you know, makes you keep continuing to get more angry because you're angry at yourself. The other really amazing thing that I learned, because I learned because of the work that I do, but what about anger that comes from past lives that you're born with? People have never thought about that.
That's very true. I mean, it's so funny. But some, you know, so you're absolutely right, B. Some souls come in with this.
Yes, and here is like the most exquisite example of anger that comes from a past life. And you were just talking about somebody dying of cancer. Well, I was sitting in front of a 23-year-old young man who was dying of cancer. And I said to him, "Justin, you have more anger than anybody I've ever tuned into. And your name, Justin Dave, that is the clue, the key to your whole life. Justin Dave. David means beloved. Justin, be loved. Just be loved."
Wow.
And he had cancer, and I had said to him, "I'm getting that you were assaulted when you were 15. And he goes, "Yes, I was." And it's taken 7 years for the rage and the pain and the shame to turn into this cancer. It was in his pelvis. He was on all fours. He was sexually assaulted. But there was that one element. And then his mother, whenever his mother would come in, he was very rude to her. And this is what astounded me. I said, "Why are you so mean to your mother, and so rude to her, especially in front of a stranger?" And he goes, "I don't know." And then I just said, "Well, let me see if I can see the karma between the two of you." And I swear to God, I said, "I see you fighting a duel with your father over your mother in the South when they fought duels, and you lost and you were shot in the heart." And he says, "I was born with 3 holes in my heart."
Oh,
Wow.
no way. Oh, my God.
Oh my God.
You've been making your parents pay ever since. He's only 22. And he says, "I've had 7 car accidents. I fell out of a tree once. I had a brain tumor, and now this."
Wow. Wow.
That's amazing. And he was born with 3 holes in it. Okay, that blows
That
my,
would be
my poor
definitely
little left
karma.
brain is,
Yeah.
wow.
Now check this out. You're an astrologer, Kelly. You know I do Vedic astrology.
I know. My favorite.
For a woman whose 6-year-old son is going into surgery at the back of his neck. And I said to her, "I'm getting that your son died in battle in a previous life, in his last life, and where he's getting the surgery is the blow that felled him." And you know what she says to me? "My 6-year-old son is obsessed with watching the movie Pearl Harbor."
Oh, wow.
Oh my
Wow. Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Watch Pearl Harbor over and over.
That is amazing. Well, thank you. I mean, I really appreciate bringing up that whole spiritual, that, you know, added spiritual side of,
Absolutely.
so if that, you know, when that's the case, what's the best thing to do about that?
Well, here's the thing. With the first young man, the little boy, I said to the mother, "You know, this little boy, he's a spiritual warrior. He just wants to dance." And she said, "Oh, he's got a twin, a girl, and they do dance classes together." Then the 22-year-old, Justin, I do guided meditations, and I guided him on a journey, and he saw a beautiful woman, and he said, "She's kissing me, and she's putting all the love she has inside of her into me. I forgot what it was like to have love inside." And then he told me, "B, if I'm going to die, that's all I want, is to be kissed like that." I told his family what happened. 6 days later, I called the house. the father said that Justin died last night, and we're having a memorial today. I went. The brother was giving a eulogy. He said my brother had a date with a beautiful girl the night before he died, and I helped him to shave and to bathe to look his best, and they kissed, and that night he died.
Wow.
He got the love
Wow.
back.
Wow.
I always tell people it's all about love. Any which way you slice it,
Yeah.
angry people need
Completely.
more love than most everybody else.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
I was a very angry person, and I have been throughout my life because my father was very angry. So it goes in generational. It's cycle. It goes into cycles. I learned from my father at 13, who used to hit me all the time. I literally took an iron pan and I hit him over the head with it and said, "Don't you ever touch me again, or I will call the police." And he never touched me again. So what did that teach me? When you get angry, you protect yourself.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's what I wanted to share. And again, I have to say that to myself. Stop getting angry at yourself, because you are a spiritual person. You love people. You help people. You still have some anger issues. It's okay.
Yeah.
You learn.
Thanks,
Oh,
B.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you for calling.
Thank you, B. That was great.
True. We're all having the human experience, and so we are going to, mess up, and repair, of course, and owning are the best thing to do after a mess up. But it's all a journey.
It's quite a journey. Thanks so much for calling, B.
Thank you.
Healers and teachers that every single situation serves a lesson. You always learn more.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's true.
Thanks, B.
Very true.
Thank you, B.
Thanks, B.
Thank you, John.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. She did remind me of something. She did remind me that I just want to make this announcement. Anybody who has had a head injury, a traumatic brain injury, often that causes a lot of sudden rage. So if somebody out there all of a sudden knows somebody, or they all of a sudden become very, very rageful and they don't know why, it comes out of the blue, see if anybody's had a head injury.
That's interesting. Yeah. Well, it's always important to rule out anything medical before.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
do we have any other calls, John?
Not the moment. So
okay.
I'm just trying to. We do right now. One just came right in. Here we go. 917-699 is on the line. Can we have your name, please, and where you're calling from?
Hi, ladies. This is Kevin Lee from Fort Lauderdale.
Hi, Kevin. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. What's your birthday, Kevin?
5/24/70.
Oh. Are you a spiritualist? You are. You've got to be.
Yes.
Yeah. You've got to be. Yeah, you've got to, because you have a mind that just goes and goes and goes and goes, but it's really into spirituality. Really, really big.
Exactly right. My
are you a medium? Are you a medium? Oh, there you go. Yeah, because some people come in with immediately what's going on.
Funny.
And definitely, you definitely are. Wow. Well, welcome to the show. How can we help you?
Thank you. Well, it's so funny because today I found your show, and actually I was looking at one of the old videos where James in Prague had popped in. And so I thought, let me check in with these ladies tonight. And I went for a Subway sandwich and had a interesting altercation with the lady behind the counter who decided to argue with me over my choices of onions or no onions to my sandwich. And it was so bizarre, her personality.
What?
And
that's very weird. What happened?
Arguing and questioning me in front of customers, and she wouldn't let it go. It was very obnoxious. And it really pissed me off. And I thought, I'm spiritual, but I don't know what's going on here.
Well, wait a minute. You mean like in a passive aggressive way? Was she passive aggressive?
Sounds like she was quite aggressive.
No, I think there was actually a personality issue. There was something very peculiar about the way she asked questions and brought stuff up. Very peculiar.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
So you either wanted onions or you didn't want onions, and she was arguing with you about it?
Yeah. And then she said, well, what do you care what people think how your breath smells? And I said, excuse me. I said, I wear deodorant every day. I care what people think about how I smell. And she goes, well, that shouldn't matter. And I said, I'm not you. I'm a nice person.
Oh, my God.
Oh, Shirley, I'm just glad you weren't there. You would have taken her down.
Anyway, but you guys were talking about personality disorders, so I thought, well, maybe there's something I don't understand because I didn't grow up in a family of people with personality disorders that were confrontational or nasty in a way. And
Well,
so I
you're
don't
very, count your blessings.
resist
Count your blessings. You're very lucky if you didn't, because usually there's one in every family. Not usually, but often there I find that there is. I mean,
Yeah.
personality disorders are the ones that they have no consciousness or awareness of their behavior. So you
No,
might say,
none.
what does it matter to you if I have onions or no onions? They have a stake in their own unconsciousness. How else can you say it, Shirley? They're very limited. It's unbelievable. They'll never get any further than how you see them now.
Yeah.
It's They rarely get help
That is
because they
totally
don't believe there's
exactly
something
right.
the matter with them.
I cannot. Yeah, you're right. I can't see her changing her mental state.
Yeah.
Because it literally seemed to be some sort of internal programming that was not going to change.
Well, it's interesting that you say
Yeah,
it that way
I like
because it is kind of an internal programming. It's parts of the brain that aren't either fully developed or there's some parts missing sometimes. And
Uh-huh.
the thing about personality disorders is what Kelly said, that the most one of the characteristics across all of them is a lack of awareness. When there's a lack of awareness, you can't get help for something you don't believe that you have or that you're not aware of having. Everybody else around you might know it, but you don't. And so that's why it's hard to even, it's hard to shift them at all because there's no awareness there.
And it's typically, Kevin, it's not safe to say, wait a minute, do you understand your part in this? And it's not safe because you will get blasted from here to eternity because they are never wrong. They are either a victim or
Right.
they don't do anything wrong. And they're very black and white thinking. It's really limited.
Yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting. I walked away and I thought, should I be even more upset? And I thought, there's got to be a spiritual lesson. There's got to be a spiritual lesson. So, just hearing you guys talk tonight has been very helpful as well.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I was going to say sometimes a cigar is just a cigar, like Freud used to say, and maybe it was, maybe the experience for you was it gave you an opportunity to depersonalize it,
Right.
and to clearly realize, oh, that's her stuff, not mine.
Mhm.
And another thing I was thinking is it's good to have, especially as a medium and anything you do out there, but it's good to know who's out there. Like there are personality disorders. I've had to help a lot of people with this. And as a medium, if you're doing a reading for somebody that there's a situation, it's best to learn it, even if you're learning it from the subway girl with the onions. You won't forget that lesson.
Right. No.
I won't forget that one. Subway with the onions. I will not forget that one. That's a good one.
Great for a stage story.
Yes.
I just can't believe a Subway employee would be trying to tell you how to have your own sandwich. I mean, it's completely unprofessional.
It's counter intuitive to the process of their mission, which is
Right. Their mission statement your way.
Yeah.
Oh, that is a very funny story. Gosh.
Saying that the Subway employee may have been raised in a controlling environment, therefore she is controlling. That's coming from Karen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, controlling is a good, interesting word because she also informed me in the conversation. She had been at the store for a very long time, many years, and she was a good employee. I was like, oh.
Okay. You just told me what she is, borderline.
Yep.
Yeah, there's the experts.
And for some reason, borderlines, we're talking about personality disorders in general, but borderlines in particular take everything personally. So it could be that you not wanting the onions, she took somehow as a personal offense to her. And so then they will fight back because they've taken it personally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They don't have boundaries. No. Yeah.
We'll have to do a show on that. I know we've done them in the past, but we'll have to revisit
We'll have to do another. We'll have to revisit that one.
Yeah. Well, thank you for calling in,
Well,
Kevin.
thank you, ladies.
Thanks, Kevin.
You guys appreciate it. Well, I'll catch you online.
Thanks so much,
Thank you
Kevin.
so much.
Alrighty.
All right. So we are moving on to area code 432-644 is on the line. Can we have your name, please, and where you're calling from?
Susan, Midland, Texas.
Hey, Susan.
Hi, Susan.
Hi.
How are you today?
Hi, how are y'all? Doing good. How are you all?
Good,
Oh, good.
good.
Thank you. How can we help you today?
Where you're talking about anger, I had one parent who thrives on it. One who I'm more like, I'd just as soon let it go. I run from it. I'm not comfortable with it. There are a lot of situations that have come up that I could be very, very angry about. And I keep trying to let it go, but it's kind of like there's some spiritual nudging from the other side about do something about it.
Well,
Okay.
Shirley, you used a good word there, Susan. You said you thrive. One of them thrives on anger. Shirley, why don't you address that? Because it's such a good. I love that you said that thrives on anger, because
Well-
anger is a real power, and I like that she said he thrives on it.
Yeah. What do you mean by thrives?
Mother. She admits it. She says she gets mad. I mean, that's her go-to. You know, some people try to. I laugh. I'd rather have a good time.
Right.
Things are intense. She gets mad instead of
Yeah.
sad. She gets mad.
Well, that's probably because she doesn't feel safe feeling the other emotions. And sometimes people use anger as a way to keep people away because there's to bring
Right.
people close feels too vulnerable. So maybe she was hurt by her parents at a young age, or shamed or something like that. So, but it's important to, we can understand why someone is angry, but that doesn't mean that we have to um, um, let it cross our own boundaries. It's important to set boundaries with people who are angry. It doesn't mean that they get to, willy-nilly do whatever they want just because we understand why they're angry, or why they have anger as their go-to. You can set boundaries and decide that you don't want to be, a part of it, or you don't want to be in that energy and walk away. Or, if she's getting angry when you're on the phone with her, to say, I'm going to hang up now because I don't want to be the recipient of your anger, but let's talk when we can have a conversation, as an example.
I've spent a couple of years doing that. It's just she and I. My father died about a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to. She's old, and I have to check on her and have
Yeah.
to do it. But I try to get her to let go of some things. But a lot of them are big business things that I probably should be delving into with more lawyers, etc. I've just been trying to let it go, but then I get phone calls from people I haven't heard from in 30 years that bring this up, that say, you better do something.
Yeah. Well, letting it go doesn't mean ignoring it. You can't let it go by just not feeling it, because anger's there. So the best way to let it go, which isn't really even letting it go, is to acknowledge it. Wow, that really made me angry. And then decide what the best thing to do. Many times we think letting it go is just by pretending, oh, that doesn't make me angry, or I'm not going to worry about it, or I shouldn't feel anger. And that's not letting go. That's just denying it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's human. I mean, I feel the anger, but it's like, I don't want anything bringing me down. It's like, you acknowledge it and then let it go, or just I don't like to live there, dwell there, thrive on it. And but I didn't, it's kind of like you said, setting boundaries is very good. I just feel like maybe my father's trying to nudge me from the other side, saying,
yeah. I think he's all about, peace and harmony. And I think he took a lot in with her, like a lot.
He did.
Yeah, a lot. And
He did.
I'm hearing that she's the sheriff. That's the term he's saying.
Yeah.
She is the sheriff.
He was a force to be reckoned with, but when it came to her, he just backed down.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what he still does. He still does. He says he still loves her, though. He loves her very much. If you can come from a place of love and just know this is who she is. Did your mother ever fall off a horse or anything like that?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think she was brave enough to get on a horse, to tell you the truth.
Okay. I wonder if she ever fell, hit her head.
It's something. Yeah, she's got some dementia.
Okay.
But she's always been she's always been very volatile. She's a very sweet person, very good mother. I mean, was she's a perfectionist. Everything had to be perfect. So of course,
Oh,
childhood
that's
was
a rough one.
supposedly
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. That's classic. Yeah. That's classic difficult.
And she stays mad with herself.
Yeah.
It's just,
Mm.
but like I said, a little bit now with the dementia, but there's a lot on the line, and like I said, I've tried to let a lot of it go. But there are some people I think that are not on the up and up, and I'm gonna have to.
Just keep looking into it. Keep looking into it, Susan. Just go full force into it. This is
Yeah.
the time to do that.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to learn to get mad.
Or just
Yes.
just
Well,
it's a good force. Can be.
it's what you said.
Okay. Just gonna have to
You
gather up all my energy.
Mm-hmm.
Use it.
Well, that's
Oh.
it. I mean, it takes energy, but you said something really important, Susan, that I don't want to forget to point out. Is some people believe that if I get in touch with my anger, I'm going to be this angry person walking around. The exact opposite is true. It's counterintuitive to get in touch with the anger, but when you get in touch with the anger, that gives it the opportunity to dissipate. You have to work through whatever caused the anger. If it's childhood wounds and that kind of thing, it's not just okay. I've gotten in touch with my anger, and now I expect it to just disappear. But many people don't get in touch with their anger because they feel like that's just going to make me an angry person. And that's not true. It'll actually help dissipate it.
Okay. You hit that on nail on the head exactly.
Yeah.
This is a for instance, and this is a long time ago, but there was a car accident that my boyfriend was killed. All kinds of civil lawsuits were filed for insurance money. I felt sorry for his family, even though they were trying to file, lawsuits against me because their son had died.
Yeah.
Finally, my dad, about a year later, said, basically he said, my ass is getting a little red about this too, and you better get mad. And I never looked at it that way. I was felt sorry for the other people.
Wow. Well, you've got a lot of compassion.
Now
Yeah.
it's stuff over my dad's estate, and I think that.
Again, you're a soul having a human experience, and sometimes a human experience is exactly this: having to deal with estates, having to deal with deep emotions. Let it out, Susan, and go for it. Excuse me.
Okay,
Yes.
I will. Thank you. I need
Okay.
cheerleaders. I appreciate you all so much.
Well, thank you, Susan.
Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
You too. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye,
Susan.
I'll enjoy the show so much. Thank you.
Aw, thank you so much, Susan.
All right. So I think we have Lynn on the line. Lynn is calling in. Hey, Lynn, how you doing?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Lynn.
Lynn,
Everyone.
are you melted? Did you melt, Lynn, at 111?
John, Kelly.
Good to hear from you, hon.
Hi, Lynn.
Very good to talk to all of you. I had nothing in my head about anger, and then since I'm on this call listening to these things, I'm thinking, with Kelly, my mother, how she bursts through.
Yeah. First time I did a reading for Lynn, her mother burst right through.
Really?
Burst.
Oh, that's interesting.
No boundary.
But I invited him to burst.
No, not Jeffrey. Jeffrey can come anytime. It was your mother. Yeah.
Anytime it can come. But there have been three. There have been three sensitive people that I've talked to, officially. You being one of them. Since I lost Jeffrey. Well, I haven't lost him. He's right here. But my mother. She's the kind of person who she wants to get the telephone in somebody else's house. She'll push four people out of the way. So that's literally what she did. She came. She wouldn't leave you alone. She wouldn't leave a lovely lady named Carolyn in Boston. She wouldn't leave her alone. She wouldn't let her get started on a reading. She had to say, "I'm here. I have this woman here." I usually prepare a little, but I have this woman here who wants to get started now.
That's
exactly what happened to me. Was she an angry person, Lynn? And were you afraid of her?
I wasn't afraid of her. I didn't like the feelings that she brought up in me. I didn't like. She didn't bring out the best in me because she could have such a cutting, nasty personality. And that was, it was very destructive because she would say things to me even though she, maybe she did love me madly, I don't know, but she claimed, she would swear up and down that she did, but she just was so difficult. And the saddest thing is I kept waiting as time passed and she got older after I lost my father too. And I just kept waiting for her to mellow a bit so that so that we could have a better relationship. And up until she never did. She never mellowed.
Wow.
And that is a lesson in itself. That is so damn sad.
Yeah.
Shirley, why don't you speak about that for a minute? Because you and I have talked about that they do not mellow out.
What do you mean?
Personality disorders.
Well, if she was a personality disorder, no. And it gets worse with age because it's the same neuronal, circuitry going and going. It's like it's like when you go skiing, when it's powder snow, you're the one that makes the first tracks, but as the tracks continue, or like in a hiking route where the grass stops growing because people keep stepping on it, so the track gets stronger. And personality disorders do not get better; they get worse. In fact, I have a friend who works at a geriatric, with geriatric population, and says that in old aging homes, most people there are older people with personality disorders because the kids don't want to bring them home because they wreak havoc in their homes. And so they start to split the staff against each other, and they start to, so it's a very real thing, and it doesn't get any better with time. And they won't go to therapy because of lack of awareness. So you can't, if they went to therapy, it might help a little bit, but you can't fix something you're not aware of. I mean, you just can't.
I just began to realize, after we had the experience we had, Kelly, where you felt things about, what her condition really was. I never thought about that before, but yes, she may have had. I mean, I'm feeling more and more now as I listen to both of you. She may have had an undiagnosed, and I certainly didn't call it a personality disorder. I knew I just had great problems with her. But she went in for a physical thing, and she was all the way on the East Coast, and I'm here in California. She went in for surgery, and when she came out, they sent her to a rehab center. And there was a woman that I sent in to try to look after her. I mean, she kept nobody lasted very long, but this woman said to me, she said, I don't think she is a very nice place. She said, they make you do your exercises and go to therapy. And she said, I think that she may be the first person, your mom, she may be the first person that they discharge, that they won't let her stay because that's how difficult she's being.
Oh my God. That is a great story, Lynn, as painful as it is. Wow. I won't forget that one.
Yeah, that's wow. I mean, that's when these are the stories that help.
And I just distanced myself, because I knew what would trigger me, and I finally got to the point where I really knew who I was. I knew I wasn't the person that she was accusing me of being. The personality problems that, I don't know, maybe she was transferring her personality problems to me, but that wasn't me. So what I would do is I learned how to have very, very brief conversations with her on the phone. And if they were brief enough, and I mean really brief, like 5 minutes, and I would say, very nicely and sweetly, because I would want it to stay that way. And I'd say, oh, Mom, how is everything and how are you? And I've got to get to work. I have to get on the phone in 5 minutes, but I love you. And that's the only way I could make it work.
Well, how beautiful, Lynn. I mean, you figured out a way to make it work with someone because you wanted to stay connected to her or have some kind of a relationship with her. So you figured out a way to make it work. That's beautiful.
But you also described perfectly borderline personality disorder. And that's exactly how I handle it, Lynn. You get 3 to 5 minutes and then I got to go.
Yeah.
It's true.
Right.
Wow.
And there's many people who choose not to have a relationship with them.
Would bring out in me.
Yeah. Oh, they bring out the worst. I mean, they know exactly how to get under your skin in a way that's almost feels like a skilled surgeon. And and bring out the worst in you, and then they look at you like, see, it's you.
It's you.
Oh, because the other issue that this would make me angry. This was one of my triggers. She would become the martyr.
Oh yeah.
I
They're always a victim. Yeah.
tolerate martyrs. I
Mm.
can't stand these people that set themselves up for martyrdom. So now
Yeah.
she's in the spirit world, and she has barged her way in front of Jeffrey, and he's not easy to barge in front of. You know that,
No.
Kelly.
No, he's not.
At every turn,
Wow.
claiming how much she loves me. So I don't know
Wow.
how much the personality disorder is being dealt with on the other side.
Well, yes. The
That's
answer
a
is
good
yes.
question.
Well, I'll tell you what happens, Lynn. On the other side, you do what's called a life review. And in this life review, you're going to watch all of those experiences of what you actually did. Now, it could be because her mom was this way or her father was this way.
It always,
It comes in from some place. It just
Mhm.
comes in. I always say that when I'm around one, wow, Kelly, they are here to teach me. And I have learned so much about how I respond to them, to warn other people.
Would
But
that show up in a way that they remember them? Just like maybe she has done the work, but maybe she just showed up that way because that's how Lynn remembered her to be that way. Or do you think she still needs
Oh, that's
the
Oh,
rehab?
great question. I don't know. It's because as a psychic too, I could go in and pull up how she was here.
Mm.
As a medium, I would often get, I'm sorry, because they do have to work through all of this stuff before they have to work on it before they're going to incarnate again. They're going to work on a lot of things. They're going to work on a lot of things. And that would be one thing would be personality. Like, oh, you mean I wasn't supposed to rage at this thing? Oh, but originally what happens is they'll eventually go back to the original wound. Maybe the original wound, as B had said, was 10 lifetimes ago or 20 lifetimes ago. That could be the original wound right there.
A core wound, from many, many lifetimes, because
Mhm.
I
It's a
knew my
core wound. Yeah.
grandfather, and I didn't catch any of that from them. I mean, I was,
Mhm.
only a teenager when we lost them, but it wasn't this kind of a very deep issue that my mother
Mm.
had, and it did get worse with age, and
Mm.
it was all rolled up with I love her so much, which made everybody else that didn't understand think I was awful, and they'd feel sorry for her because I was a terrible daughter.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Oh yeah, that's so typical. I mean, we'll have you call back when we do a show on borderlines. We
Yeah,
have
we're
in the
definitely
past,
gonna
but
do it.
they're always fun to do. But yeah, you feel like, and they have that charismatic side. So that's what people see on the surface. And the anger, the rage piece comes once the bond is made. So yeah, so it's very difficult, and there's a lot of rage that never really gets worked through with them. That's one where when we talk about anger and rage, if you acknowledge it and you work through it, but because they take everything as a possible slight or a criticism then the rage is always there on the surface. And I many times have compared it to, it's just a minor example of the chaos in their own brain. I mean, I wouldn't want to be in their brain for a second, so
Right.
so there's a lot of different facets of anger.
Kelly, you really picked it up.
Oh, I got it right away.
There she was saying that she loved me.
Mhm.
I mean, she really interrupted you before you could even talk to me.
That's so
That's
funny.
how she would crash in. She's done it 3 times.
Wow.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And then just, but just trying to make the impression on you, for instance, and to come through to me how much she loved me, and
Right.
yet you caught it. You said there's something else going on here.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, unfortunately, we're
So-
running out of time, Lynn, but thank you so much for calling in, sweetheart.
Yeah. Thank
Thanks,
you for
Lynn.
calling, Lynn. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah, Great to
I
hear
love
from you
all.
again.
It's so good.
Love you.
So glad I finally got in today. I couldn't get any sound. I finally did. And
Yay!
John,
Oh, good.
you give my my niece a hug for me.
I will do that. I will give Melody a hug for you. Thank you, hon.
All right.
Stay cool.
Bye,
Lynn.
Lynn. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Bye bye,
Bye.
girls. Bye, John.
Bye, hon.
Bye.
Oh, so sweet.
You know, we have a webinar that's going to be out soon,
Yeah.
and it's one of the topics is borderline personality
Oh,
disorder.
perfect.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So we will have that on our website in the next month.
Yeah, and then we'll talk about it too, and then it's going to be a good show.
Yeah,
That'll be
we
good
give
show.
a lot of very specific tools on how to deal with
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, we're
So
getting
anyways,
great comments about that and people wanting us to do that. So I also
Okay.
wanted to bring up this point. Katrina says, "Hi, John. I'm new to the show, and last week I talked to you guys, and you have changed my outlook on death and having my parents around me. Still on cloud 9. Thank you." From Katrina.
oh, that's
thanks,
wonderful.
Katrina. So
That's a
sweet. Thank
beautiful
you.
thing to say.
Exactly what we
Thank
need to
you.
do, right?
Yay.
Yeah,
So be
that's
sure to
lovely.
Follow us on social media, everybody.
Mhm.
It's Both Sides Now TV. That's on Instagram. That's on Facebook. That's on Twitter. That's also on YouTube, where all the archive shows are, and
Uh-huh.
also under the video section on Facebook. So if you missed the show, you can always go back and watch it on Facebook. And on YouTube, we have previous years of show episodes.
Yes,
Be
a lot of
sure to
great
check
stuff
those
there.
out. Yeah.
And next week we won't be here next week, but we'll be here the following week with Carrie
That's
Gonia.
right, with Carrie Gonia, Family Constellation Therapy. That is not to be missed. She's amazing. So thank you for tuning in. We really, really appreciate it, and have a wonderful evening.
Thanks,
Bye, everybody.
Take care.
You've been listening to Both Sides Now, featuring the unconventional duo Dr. Shirley and Kelly White. Two perspectives, one world.